Hello and welcome to the Shaping Futures podcast. I'm Kritika Bagaria, a mentor to high school students to guide them onto a path of passion and purpose with the aim to eventually help them get into their dream colleges. Through the Shaping Futures podcast series, we interview change makers and experts in the field of education to inspire our students to take action. Today, we have with us the boss lady herself, Ananya Chhaochharia, who is a menstrual rights advocate and is due to study public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School very, very soon. Ananya, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us today.
Thank you, Kritika. The pleasure is all mine, and congratulations on the wonderful work that you're doing.
You've been an integral part of it from the very, very beginning. So it's almost surreal for me to have you here and, for us to chat about so many things that we've anyway been talking about, outside of this recording room. So Ananya, like I ask many, many of my, guests, this very important question, I'm going to throw it open to you as well. What do you think your high school experiences and, all your extracurricular engagements back in college have led to now? How has it shaped the person you are today?
Kritika, I think this is one of the most pertinent questions because when we were younger, I think we all wanted to grow old. So we wanted our freedoms, we wanted to become an adult. And I wish I could rewind. I wish I could tell my younger self that that is the time to experience new things, to find out what are your passions. And I was very fortunate, both in terms of school and college, that it gave me very different kind of experiences. School allowed me to try my hand at anything and everything, from art, which I was miserable at, to finding out that I love interacting with people. I think it's one of my strongest suits, to recognizing that communication is going to be one of my prominent tools or bringing about change. I think school gave me that platform,
Right.
while college forces you to go and face reality.
Yeah.
In school, we're in a bubble, we're sheltered, it's home, right? We're spending 6 hours day in and day out. Our teachers feel like family, our friends seem like our cousins, and life is very easy. Then college happens. And that reality of being out there on your own and experiencing things that were completely alien, it helped broaden my perspective. I met people who were from different backgrounds. I learned about my privileges actually when I was in college. I recognized my place in society through the different engagements I had, and reality actually struck like a thunderbolt at that point of time. So both in for school going kids as well as college going children, I think the biggest thing is that let yourself be thrown into the deep end. I
Hmm.
think I think letting experiences come by and not being fearful at that point of time could could give you life lessons that can actually become the bedrock of what you want to do, and what you achieve, you're aspiring to do. So
Right.
I think that is what for me high school and college was, new and wonderful experiences.
Lovely. I really resonate, with what you said here, something that we also actively speak to students about, which is let's not be in a rush to become an adult, because things are not very easy when that happens. In fact, school's giving you the platform to try, be wacky, discover things you're not good at, and of course, things that you're good at. And then college, of course, is a whole different experience. So definitely something that students listening to would benefit from. So thanks for that, Ananya. I'm going on to another question, which also I'm pretty sure you're asked very, very often about your choice of subjects in school, political science. I'm sure at the time when you were selecting your discipline and your area of specialization in high school, there were dilemmas and conversations at home about, your subjects of choice, what they would lead to. So, what were your thoughts when you were getting into this discipline?
Well, I think I went through an elimination process.
All
So
right.
we were given three streams that we had to choose from: science, commerce, and humanities. Science, I could not think of. I was not good at it. So by simple nature of not being good at certain subjects, I had to eliminate science as a stream.
Right.
Then came commerce and humanities. Not only was I doing well in my humanities subjects in 9 and 10, I
Yeah.
also found that it took me less effort when I was sitting to study it.
Yeah.
it came more naturally to me. History felt like I'm reading another one of my novels.
Yeah.
Political science felt like I'm reading the newspaper, a habit that um, I wish young people get back to. And so, I just, it was a natural choice for me to go towards the humanities stream.
Yeah.
I was, as most people, I was also a very confused young person when I was applying for colleges. So I applied for law, I applied for political science, I applied for history, sociology, anywhere. Anybody who would take me, I would go. And when I got to political science, I had the same questions. What is going to be my future? Will I be able to do anything? I can't be a teacher. Like, that was my first thought. I can't be like, I can't go and teach classes. I mean, they're one of the most hated people. And I realized that that's not true. Only once again, things you realize once you grow up as to what influence your teachers have in your life. But that aside, I realized once I did start studying political science was that it is very multidisciplinary. It allows you to explore a lot of different verticals. So from human rights to international relations, from policy and governance to politics, I actually got a chance to learn a little bit of everything within political science. So when I was actually applying post college, when I was thinking of what to do next, I had several avenues that I could look at. I actually did 2 diplomas afterwards. I finished my diploma in human rights. Then I did a diploma in international law and international relations while working in government and governance and politics.
Right.
Of course, the governance and politics was something that did not come very easy as a woman in a male-dominated
Yes.
profession. It
Yes.
took a lot of courage and fighting society, fighting my own parents, making them
Right.
realize that I will, this is exactly why I need to be there. The representation of women and minorities is something which is important for me. And politics was, again, one of those means to that end that I recognized. But so from like doing my diploma in human rights and international law to the fact that I'm going to be following my career in public policy
Right.
while learning politics and governance.
Right.
Um, the scope of the subject is extremely wide,
Yes.
and again, nobody had told me this, but through the learning process, I realized that it's a misconception that humanities is limiting in forms of what we can do next. The world is yours.
I'm so glad you're saying this. And, for every podcast, we take out that one big quote which really stands out for us. And this is definitely going to be the place where I'm going to be quoting you. Nanya, through whatever you just said, you also mentioned about the importance of teachers. And I know for a fact that your mentors in your life have held a very, very important place, and something that you and I have actively spoken about. And the fact that you entered a field which you knew a little of, but went with an inkling and discovered so much along the process. Because I know you, I know how that went about, and the importance of some very important people who entered your life. Our young students are always looking for those mentors who can shape them, who can guide them. Could you please tell us and give us some advice on how to find those people in your life?
Um, I won't sugarcoat it and say that it's easy. It
Yeah.
takes time. And we often tend to look at people who are in a certain position, uh, teachers or people who are, say, CEOs of something. We often forget that mentors can be within the circles that we're already in.
Right.
My mentor, for example, is only a couple of years older to me, and he ran a public policy organization. And while everybody in my cohort was very hesitant about approaching him because they were just like, "Oh, he's the founder, will he
Yeah.
interact with us?" If I had an interesting session, I would just drop in a message. I would just
Yeah.
tell him that, I really enjoyed it. This is something which I find interesting. And that is actually how I asked him to keep me in mind if there's another campaign that comes up for any political party. And it was because of our session with one of the leading strategists in the world, and I was so intrigued by his concepts. I'm just like, I want to try this. What is this exciting idea that I
Yeah.
had never heard of before? And it so happened that a month later, a campaign came up, and the founder of our organization, now my mentor Prateek, reached out to me and told me, "Would you want to go?" And I'm just like, I've never done this before. will you be there to guide me? He's
Okay,
like,
yeah,
of course I will, right?
yeah,
Because I was very hesitant asking that, or even admitting to the fact that I didn't know something. But I realized that, before I step in, I have to be honest about it. And I did. And that began a journey of a mentor and mentee, to the point that and as you know, I did not take any professional help while applying for my master's. I
right,
only relied on the one person who knows my journey, who knows why I want to do what I want to do, to become my solid guide. And sometimes that can make so much more of a difference, right? Because somebody who bothers to get to know you, who bothers to know your story, can actually help you construct it as well.
absolutely,
Because I think a lot about an application is how you get your story across.
yes,
Because everybody's story is unique and everybody's story is powerful.
yeah,
It's eventually how you narrate your story that can make all the difference. And
absolutely,
I found that guide who knew what my aspirations were, what my journey has been, and how we could string it together to actually present the vision and mission that Ananya Chhaochharia brings to the table. So finding your mentor can seem like a challenging task, but again, have conversations, find people who you can trust,
right.
and don't hesitate. Don't feel embarrassed about
Yeah.
admitting who you are.
Right. And, just adding to one of the points that you just mentioned, someone who knows your entire story. Sometimes, in my experience, at least when I'm working with students, I've often realized that the person who's living their story seldom realizes that this is my story. And a third person who's seeing it from the outside sees those nuances and knows that, bro, this
Absolutely.
is your story, this is what makes you unique. And that also then kind of feeds into that introspection and reflection. Bang on. And I'm so happy we spoke about this, because it's not every day that we speak about the importance of mentors and finding people who inspire us. So super glad we spoke about this. Moving on to another very important aspect of your life, which is Painted Red. And we want to know how you started Painted Red, and how Painted Red has turned you today into a menstrual rights advocate.
My story of Painted Red is actually a little fascinating as well as startling to a lot of people. I was out canvassing for a political party and I was in Bihar, and I was paid an untimely visit by my periods. And that's when reality actually hit me, because we were on the road. I was unprepared. I couldn't find a sanitary napkin for the longest duration till I reached a main village. Even in that village, the sanitary facilitation was actually a bamboo hut. And that struck me like a brick, because for all of these days and years and months of having conversations about gender equality or women empowerment suddenly came crashing before me. Because who am I to be talking about equality or justice or even gender equality when the basic facility of a monthly need is not available to the women in our country? It absolutely broke down all my lofty ideologies and made me realize that we need to start at the very basic.
Right.
That's how I chose menstruation as a cause to bat for the larger gender equity issue that we're fighting. And um, and and, and this is what I wonder, that when our daily lives are so affected by such patriarchal notions, how are we going to create and break the glass ceilings? If today we're talking about beti bachao beti padhao,
Yeah.
but if a beti is dropping out of school because she started her periods,
Yeah.
who are we bachawing, who are we padhawing, man?
Yeah.
So those questions started haunting me. And little by little, I just started talking to people who've already been in the field. I started understanding why, when there are around 100 plus, if not more, organizations within the country that are working on this cause, why have we not made strides? What are the institutional gaps? What are the infrastructural gaps? What is it that we're not being able to see?
Right.
And that's why my movement as a menstrual activist began.
This is so very brilliant. You saw a gap, and you researched and you put together a solution, and you're rallying for it day in and day out. And this is also what we speak to high school students about. When a realization that dawned upon you, you're trying to make changes, thinking about the larger world, but probably skipping what's happening around you immediately. the immediate surroundings, how would you advise high school students to observe and take action in a similar fashion? Because again, when we're trying to speak to students about change, we always start about we always start talking about the impossible things before we can start talk about the more practical possibilities that are around us. So knowing how many younger students you've worked with, we want to know what advice you would give these children.
I have a couple of things that I want to tell them. I think the fun thing that I've observed with a lot of high school or young college going kids is that one, they have a fear of failure.
Hmm.
I think that fear can be very overpowering. But I just want to put that out there that failure teaches you so much more than success does. I know that a lot of times when we're talking, even now when we're talking, Kritika is talking to me about my successes. I've had a lot of failures in my life. I wanted to do law. I sat for my CLAT exam. I clearly didn't perform well. I ended up with political science, which was my second option. And here I am today, zero regrets. From the fact that in 2020 was when I was supposed to go for my master's and I was graduating in 2022. COVID happened, and now I'm getting matriculated in 2022, the year I was supposed to be graduating. Life is unpredictable, but failures teach teaches you so much more than the good things in life. So don't be afraid to start something that you may be passionate about. And the second thing is that I think setting smart and achievable goals is extremely important. Some I have been somebody who was also stuck in that loop of doing big things. I
Yeah.
want to reach X number of people. I want to do this. I want to what is the point if I'm doing something and I'm not getting big impactful things done. And I think that is a skewed idea of what impact is.
Right.
Impact is walking in and changing even one person's life. You're creating an impact, and that is something that I feel a lot of us get embroiled in the whole social media
Yes.
marketing
Yes.
fad that this person has reached this many people, this one started an organization, this one's also plays a guitar, ye bhi karte,
Yeah.
wo bhi no,
Instagram
that's not the
recognition.
point.
Yeah.
That is not the point. Even a single person's life that you change um, is a lifetime's worth of work that you've done. And these small achievements should be celebrated. These should be the initial starting steps whenever you find what you want to do. And often it takes time to also find what you want to do. It took me, I started Painted Red back in 2019. For somebody who's been in the development sector, I used to volunteer from back in class 8. Um, I used to teach kids. Then I started doing like skill development to coming to menstrual health and hygiene.
Yeah.
It takes time to find what it is that you're passionate about. It takes time to find your cause and be patient. So that I think is the third advice: be patient and find what you want to do.
Absolutely. And try and target that one person whose life you can change before thinking about, changing thousands and thousands at the very beginning. Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. Thanks, Ananya, for that. Again, moving to another very, very different dimension of your life. Are you recognize yourself, or you call yourself an intersectional feminist. I want to understand how you got to that definition of yourself, because we often have students who are trying to define who they are. They're trying to find who they are. We want to know how you did it, and in process inspire our students again.
I wouldn't say I found myself. Every day is a new discovery, and I hope to never actually find an end to this. I hope to keep developing who I am as a person. But I hold the identity of being an intersectional feminist very, very close to my heart. The reason is that I am born in a family of strong women, but powerful men. And I
Right.
think that applies to most people.
Right.
And as when I was growing up, I had a tremendous lack of inspiring women, role models, if I may. And I inevitably thought that emulating masculine qualities of leadership
Right.
was my path to success.
Right.
And I was so incorrect. I thought I was different. I was not like other girls. I would not wear floral dresses, and I would stick to my sneakers over my heels, and didn't think makeup was for me, and all of the things that you as a child, which thought made me different. And here I am today, completely a complete different image of what I used to believe as a child, because I realized that my identity as a woman is something I cannot detach from myself. Even if I wish to do that, I cannot.
Yeah.
And I realized that I shouldn't. It is society that has instigated me to believe that men are better than women.
Hmm.
And should not internalize the patriarchy that has been fed to me time and again, directly or indirectly, that has made me believe that I'm subordinate to anybody. I
Yeah.
have, I say this with pride that there are several men I have outdone in my life. And it just reminds me that I am here to stay and I have an identity which I don't have to hide behind any pretentious qualities and characteristics. That's about being a feminist. But when I think about an intersectional feminist, I think being a Calcutta born, we have seen not just Calcutta born, I think anybody who lives in India, you do see inequalities around you.
Right.
And inequalities are not just about wealth. In our country, inequalities are social, it's economic, it's political.
Right.
From the caste system to the class system to the to the total disregard for minority genders and even people with disabilities, right? I don't think every day is a reminder for me to learn and unlearn my own privilege. And by being intersectional in my approach, I realize that the impact we can create is far greater than completely disregarding the privilege I come from. So that recognition and that acknowledgement. I can't change where I'm born, but I can decide how I use the privileges that I come from. I think
Sure.
that's most important. Just being able to see that I have what I have while somebody does not,
Yeah.
and why we're still the same, why our objectives can still be aligned, and how we can work together. I think that's the synergy that intersectional feminism helps me bring to the work I do.
Right. Right. Interesting. And, how would you again push students to be able to define who they are? Because again, not only is it a really important part of college applications, it's a really important part of navigating through life, understanding who one is. And again, how would you inspire, or what would you say to that gawky 14, 15-year-old self who was purposely not putting makeup on to be different from other girls?
I think if I could do things differently, I would read a lot of different things. I was reading a lot, but I was going with the crowd. What everybody was reading around me used to be what I chose to read as well. I think I wish I would have spent more time actually trying different genres right from a younger age.
Right.
Reading about and again reading the newspaper. I think it's a main thing, like just keeping up with what is happening around you.
Yeah.
Inspiration is sometimes hidden between the lines. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like
Right.
sometimes it's not out there in your face that this is the person you have to be inspired by. Nobody is saying that again and again that, oh, she's inspirational, he's inspirational,
Yeah.
but just learning about different people and their stories can be inspiring. And I've often found that we keep seeking role models in celebrities or people who are leaders, and we sometimes forget that inspiration can be drawn from people like you and me. That
Absolutely.
I find you as an individual inspiring. I find other women entrepreneurs who are working, people from our school who have broken the glass ceiling and done such tremendous things. I find them more inspiring than most of the political leaders that we have at this point of time. And I think that is one more thing that um, if I was when I was younger, I don't think I tried that hard. I wish I had tried hard to understand what I was seeing around me as well. It's like when you're driving through and you're seeing a different community and you're seeing that they're doing things differently, you're okay with it. You're like,
Yeah.
that's the way of life. That's their way of life. We don't try and understand why or what
Yeah.
behind it.
Right.
Question and ask more questions. And for this generation, which has been blessed with social media, which has been blessed with internet, I don't think there is a limit. Just read as much as you can, try and know about the different causes that are out there,
Right.
and you will be inspired. You won't have
Be
that much of a hard
curious.
time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And my next question was going to be, what advice would you give to students to be more opinionated, to have opinions on things? Because often we ask students, "What do you think of this?" And we could get answers like, "Oh, I don't have an opinion on it." And that's exactly where I was going. But you've already started kind of telling me about that. Use the internet, use the social media, and find answers. Follow the right people. And if there's
I
anything you would like to add to that, Ananya, we'll be very happy to.
Yeah, I think that one thing that happens is that there are also obviously the downfalls of the social media and internet, which is I've seen that the younger generation is more conscious of what they say.
Yeah.
They're more conscious of being judged.
Yeah.
I feel I think it's because nobody could take a video of us and post it on social media that we were less hung up on those things. We would say stupid things out loud and we would get corrected in return, but that was it. That was dialogue, right? A dialogue teaches you so much that sometimes you have to say stupid things. You have to put out the wrong opinion out there
Yeah.
so that somebody can come in and correct you, and
Right.
that happens even today. I may put out an opinion which gets shot down. A personal example: we used to use Womex a lot as instead of using the different terms to be more inclusionary in our language, till we were till it got pointed out that instead use terms like people who menstruate, because
Right.
Womex also can be exclusionary for certain groups.
Right.
And that was something I learned of recent. We went through an entire sanitization on our from our website to our Instagram. We put out an apology saying that we were unaware, but now that we know of it, we're
Yeah.
going to make sure that going forward we will correct ourselves.
That's
And the
really,
number
yeah.
and the number of people then that reached out to us to say that that's a brilliant step and we appreciate you for doing it. It was still an acknowledgement of a mistake. We
Yeah.
thought our intent was all right, but it was a mistake nonetheless.
Right.
And I don't think I'm afraid of correcting myself. I'm not afraid of admitting when I'm wrong. Um, and I'm not afraid of being judged. I think we've been blessed that way. We didn't have social media to worry about. The next generation really worries about public image a lot at a very young age as compared to what we did. And I think that's problematic. I really think that I don't know how they can let go of it, but the moment they cross that threshold, the
Yeah.
fear of judgment, the consciousness that they have of being um, humiliated. I think the moment they cross that threshold, they're going to beat our
I think
generation
it
and
takes
how.
that one humiliation to cross that threshold, that one bad experience, live it, get done with it, and move past it. Yeah.
That also requires you to put yourself out there.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
And I just urge anybody that if you have a thought, put it out there, be challenged, and again, like I said, don't be afraid to be thrown into the deep end.
Right. Brilliant. And with that absolutely inspiring thought, Ananya, I would like to thank you once again for all the brilliant things you've said. I am so very sure that, like always, our students would love listening to this. And I'm sure loads of them are going to reach out to you saying thank you for the things you said. Thanks a ton.
Absolutely, Kritika. I would love to interact with your students once again, and all the best for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.